Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We have the legacy here. Lee Brown, we got Slim Numbers, and me, Iron Sheik 84.
Which one of us has to be Ted DiBiase Jr. because he got in trouble, so I don't I don't want any of us in
Well,
trouble.
hold on a minute. To be fair, right? If we're talking about, he got in financial trouble, and if you want to talk about, finances, that's all numbers. So I think we'll
Oh,
have to throw that to Mr. Slim there.
wow. Slim
If there's
numbers, how do
one
you
of the three of
respond?
us that is going to get, there's one of the three of us that are going to get in trouble, it's probably me. So, Ed DiBiase Jr., here I come.
Wow. Wow. All right, Sheik, which one does that make you? You got Orton on lock or you Cody?
Well, you're the one with the white hair, so we'll let you be Cody, and I'll be Orton.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Well, I'm here with the apex predator and the man of numbers. So today we're going to talk a little bit. We're not always going to talk hype, but hype is the conversation in the game, and most specifically, we just got out of our second feud. The first feud was where they debuted hype, which we talked about. Cheek and I talked about. That was a bad move. That was a bad move to debut hype with feud. But now we've had 2 weeks. We had a female feud. So I want to know, Slim and Sheik, what was the good, what was the bad, what was the ugly of feud number 2 with hype? And then we're going to talk about how do you survive and maybe even thrive the next feud with hype. So Sheik, you go first, then Slim. Give me a good, give me a bad or an ugly that you got.
All right. Well, I always want to start with positivity.
I like that.
So the good I'll throw out is, again, just adds a little bit of complexity. You got to run through, like, okay, not only do I have reversals, but I have to figure out the best steps to take in order to be able to have my first turn, or to be able to prevent somebody from being able to knock me out turn one.
Yeah, fair. Okay. Slim, give me a good, a bad, or an ugly. Did we lose Slim? Oh, there we
Let's see. Can I do a good here?
go. Can I
I'm
do a
gonna
good?
can I do a good? We're gonna try. At the very least, uh, with hype in the state of the game where it is right now, you have to understand what's happening. You almost have to pre-plan for what's coming up. You have to understand where the meta is. You have to understand who the OP cards are. And you have to prepare for any eventuality before you even get into battle. Otherwise, you may get stuck. So, as far as like a game knowledge and understanding your game, it's going to force you to do that. And understanding the game that you play is always paramount to success and usually leads to a more enjoyable time sometime.
Yeah, I can,
Sometime.
I can see that. All right. I think my good for this one is that I understood going in more the impact of seeing like level 3 hype characters and how to kind of get around that. And I did actually beat some level 3s, even though I don't have a level 3 that's good. I think my level 3 female right now is Stephanie McMahon. So she wasn't going to win anything when I was going up against Kyrie Sane, but I was able to start thinking through, okay, if I'm going up against Kyrie Sane, she's a level 3. Who do I have on my roster that reverses her? So, for example, Becky, Showboat Becky, reverses traps, and so I was able to take Showboat Becky in and do some work. I was able to manipulate a little bit, and I did learn from. We went up against Woken a lot this feud, which we do tend to, but more so I think than usual. And Woken is notorious for putting on like the MP down characters, blah blah blah. So the disadvantage was my Becky was only hitting for 30 million. Like they had all the multi nerf down and all that. And so it still took me some work to beat, but I was very accomplished in the fact that I beat a level 3 Kyrie without a level 3. In fact, I did it with a level 1 type character. So I think I'm starting to figure out some of the nuance to it, but it's definitely more it's more brain power. As Rusty would say, it's a I'm a smooth brain person, and this is a wrinkled brain task, so to speak. So. All right. What about you? Got some good. What is something that you thought, man, I still want to see some improvement, or something you struggled with in this? Also, what's up, Bill's Mafia, Nature Boy, and Downtime Fun? Welcome on.
Yeah. So I don't know necessarily how to balance like the bad and the ugly on
Sure,
this one.
they could be the same.
Uh, so there's a couple things that like I'll get into, and like I said, I want to make sure that I'm not just babbling away. So one of the things that I've always talked about with whether it's hype, whether it's straps, medals, moments, plates, things of that nature. The thing is, yes, this is the second, feud that we've had with hype. But one thing that I feel is for, I guess, like the casual player or the ones that, you wouldn't consider like the whales who've bought the hype loot, pulls and whatnot. Um, I, in general, they gear more towards men's,
Mm-hmm.
you know, feuds, showdowns, things of that nature. So when you have a limited pool of hype points to use, people are going to spend it on the males versus the females because
Yeah.
there's more men's activities.
Yep.
But like I was saying, it's like what tends to happen is something that I've seen for like a long time, pretty much like from the history of the women being introduced in the game, like what 7+ years ago,
Right.
is there's this cycle of like, oh, they don't have as many women's events. I'm not going to use them. Oh my God, there's a women's event. I can't do anything. This event sucks. You know, this isn't fair. And I'm not going to work on my women, or I'm not going to participate because I don't have any strong women or strong hype or whatever to use. And then the cycle goes around of, oh, hey, there's not as many women's events, so I'm not going to work on my women. Oh, this event sucks because I don't have any women to work on. Oh, I guess this, I'm not going to do the event. And then, like I said, just cycle keeps going and going and going.
Right.
And one of the biggest things that I told people is I was like, hey, as like, hold off on hype. Don't pour all of your resources out right now. Like, kind of parcel it out as revisions go on. But do remember, work on your women a little bit because there's going to be, women tasks to do.
Right.
And I saw a lot of that, and like I said, not just just in my faction, it's like, and then on the discords and the reddits and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Slim. What's a good bad, or I guess bad or ugly at this point?
Without digging into it too much, there are now situations where you're in unwinnable matchups.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I, and I know that sounds wild. I know um, one of the common ideas out there is like, oh no, you can usually defeat your opponent if you put enough thought into it. And now that's not the case. There are I ran into here's the story.
You talk about rage quitting
For
your
first feud
stream.
on stream, I ran into a level 3 showboat mommy with gear that had over MP'd themselves. So they had MP trainers on it that would have gotten them basically started loaded turn one anyway, then had the +4 MP gear. I don't have Yellow Down Ghostbuster, whichever character that is, because I only have John Cena.
Right.
There's only one card on my roster that is usable to be on an emulator that would have reversed anything that Showboat Mommy would have done, and I didn't bring her into feud with me.
Ooh.
What am I supposed to do there?
Yeah.
It was a completely unwinnable matchup. I couldn't go first because I didn't have hype level 3. Class advantage does not actually help you get a turn if you are under hyped.
Right.
Um, I didn't have any trainers or enough MP down trainers to counter what was happening. I didn't have anybody with a HP pool high enough to, one, take the finisher hit from mommy, and two, wouldn't have been able to kick out even if I wanted to because of the protect gems. What am I supposed to do? Here's the answer. Where's the solution? And the answer was, I wouldn't have any fun, so I quit playing. That was my solution, was this isn't fun. I'm not doing this.
Dang.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's gnarly. All right. That's not a good situation ever.
Yeah.
In a peer versus peer event like feuds. That pretty much means that I need to rely on my partner to come in and save the day, which would have been absolutely fine if my partner hadn't have messaged me and said, "Hey, I had something come up. I've got to bounce, take my line."
Oh no.
So my two solutions were rage quit or wait 30 minutes.
Wow.
Neither one of those are acceptable to me in a peer versus peer environment. All because I didn't have a Ghostbuster card, a hype level 3, or Tech Live in my lineup.
Hmm.
That's not okay, in my opinion.
Wow.
It's not. There's no solution. There's no way to win.
Right. Right.
Yuck.
Well, I definitely, we've always kept this to be a more positive, but also real. Like we're not just faking things, and we're not Scopely marks on it. And I definitely echo some of what I hear from you, and I see in the chat since a Crease, a couple others have mentioned like this weekend was maybe the first time that they just said, "Hey, I'm just not going to feud. I'll do what I can, and then I'm out." And to me, like when I was in the Black Pearl, and I love the Black Pearl; it's a great faction, but it was lower ranked players mostly. Versus right now, Toxic Mafia, we took 10th this feud, which I think is really good considering. But we honestly lost, I'd say, 5 people who left the faction over this feud, and probably another 10 plus people who just said, "Look, I can't do the numbers that I would normally do with this," which I think is something that Scopely is going to have to address. And I think that this is where the official Discord has become the place to give your feedback. In fact, as I'm saying this, they just sent out the thing that said, "Hey, champions, make sure you put your feedback in there," and they really do listen to that. And I really think that they're going to adjust how some of this happens, but I also recognize that unless something crazy happens, 2 weeks from now, there's going to be another feud. It'll be flash feuds. It'll have men. It'll have women. We're going to have to figure out some things with hype. So, what did you guys gain from this feud that maybe would help others going into the one 2 weeks from now or a month from now that inevitably isn't on the whatever adjustments they make yet? Because I don't know that they can make them in 2 weeks from now. Maybe they can, but I don't know that they can. So, Sheik, then Slim, what thoughts do you have for adjusting feud or adjusting your way of interacting with feud so that we don't rage quit? Because we don't want to rage quit. That's what Slim said. That is not the goal for their game, but that's where a lot of people are right now.
Yeah. So one thing that I want to mention, and Mule just actually said it like you need reverse people built up. So that is how I counteracted a few of the people when and where I could. Is I know it's easy to say like, oh, just have a diverse amount of people who can reverse anything, and then use them. The problem is that like whenever you need specific wins, like the first feud, whatever you want to refer to it as,
Hmm.
where you have to get your 6 wins with the Hall of Fame and an
Right.
RA and et cetera, et cetera. You sacrifice points having to cover every single base. And okay, so, and I just want to make mention. Sorry, I'm not trying to change topics, but
You're
there was
fine.
one thing I just want to mention. This didn't specifically happen to me, but there were people who were saying that they had matches where the reversals didn't work.
Oh. Oh.
I had some people tell me that it just like using like you mentioned Becky. They were saying that Becky's trap reversal didn't work,
Huh.
and they didn't know why.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I don't know. I didn't notice at least, and I definitely got reversed a number of times. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
I, again, like I said, I didn't run into that issue, but I had more than one person tell me that that happened to them. So
Yeah,
I, I really don't know what to say there. So just mentioning that, but yeah. That being said, what I would bring into the next feud in 2 weeks is make sure you're doing that speed tour every single day and
yeah,
saving up for the megas. Um, and then yeah, just it's like lean heavily into reversals as you can. Like I know that it's rough. I know it's not easy, but kind of like we talked about last week during our thing of the podcast. Because it is so new, I think there's that. Hey, I don't like the changes, but 2, 3, 4 months from now, people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, this is what like this is what I've been doing the entire time I've been feuding."
right. Well, I mean it's definitely causing us to do some things differently, one way or another with it. Slim, what are your thoughts?
Um, After I picked myself up off the floor and gave myself about 12 hours, I went back into the battlefield and started feuding again and had a much better experience. Um, you got to run smaller. You have to run smaller. And then you have to. Sensei Kreese had a great comment in the chat where he was talking about. Back up. You can't build a feud lineup with fighters, reversals, and CSS, and that is you have
Yeah.
to pick. You can't run all three. And now you're going to have to kind of balance yourself out. Maybe one CSS, a couple of reversals, and a couple of turn one, KO artists. Your team composition is now a, it needs to be a lot more in depth when you're thinking about it than just how many areas can I cover, how many classes can I cover, and then can I sprinkle some reverses in here? That doesn't work. That didn't work for me. Absolutely annihilated and put into a bad spot. Because I was trying to do just that. My feud lineup was seven. There were seven very proficient characters, and seven very proficient characters that couldn't defeat one singular opponent. So
Mm,
um, it was a bad composition. It was great pre-hype. It would have rolled. I'd have been done in 10, 12 minutes.
right.
I would have gotten a whole ton of points and on to the next one. And it was terrible.
Yeah.
So I think I ended up with a sweet spot of five different cards, some of them hitting CSS, some of them specifically reversals, and one of them just sitting there to catch me a line bonus if I remember. And I just kept swapping in and out wherever necessary, making sure that I didn't have a full set of five that were running nothing but multiply gems. Because if you run into that one multiply, if you run into Indy and you're running five multiply gems, you're
You're
toast.
done. Yeah.
Um, yeah, you're done for. You can't do it. So a lot of diversity in my feud lineup um, was necessary. And then the other thing is you have to go into your bag of tricks. You have to find every troll coach that you have on your roster and know when and where to use.
Right.
Um, and I used to call them troll coaches again in the previous meta where you run into somebody who's got Ghostbuster Cena in Showdown. You're like, okay, great. Yeah, this guy's just trying to mess with somebody who is running red moves. Now it's survival. It's
Mm,
not a defensive tactic anymore. It is an offensive tactic to make sure that you can actually do things. So, um, you don't have a sub reversal in your lineup. You need to know who your sub turn down cards are, coaches and trainers. You need to know where all your MP down coaches and trainers are. We used to kind of giggle a little bit when stuff like Powerhouse, um, what's his name? Powerhouse Warrior got his training entourage updated to 80%
yeah.
silence gym defense. We're
Right.
like, when are we ever going to use that? Now it's like, oh, hold up. I'm in feud against somebody who is going to absolutely annihilate me with silence gyms. Wait, a gold powerhouse warrior I can toss on. All
Yeah.
right. Let's see how hard you hit now. All of those are going to be important, and you got to figure out where you can fit them in while still doing an appropriate level of damage and understand that maybe turn two, turn three wins are what's going to be necessary to get you through it, instead of clicking right through, get done with a feud in 6 minutes on to the next one. There's still players who are going to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Recognize.
Yeah.
For people like me
So
who can't, I need to learn that stuff.
yeah, and like I said, you hit the nail on the head with overfilling lines. So I know I've talked about, and I had the video, the 3-8-9-8-9 rule.
Yeah.
So one of the for the basic concept for those of you who haven't watched the video, which you should, is the max level talent that somebody can be in this game is 3-9-9-8-9. So basically, let's just round it up to 40,000. So your group bonus for every 40,000 that you have, that's a 6-star gold that you're going to have to face. So one of the things that I always see, and like we have a little Discord channel for Faction Feud. We call it the Faction Feud Clinic for people to say like, hey, this is what I'm thinking of running. And, we just throw in our 2 cents of like, yeah, you should do this, you shouldn't do that, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is why I said like it's like with hype, it's like people are still doing things the exact same way and then wondering why it doesn't work and leading to frustration. And you know coming in with 7 or 8 6-star golds with 0 hype or level 1 hype, and you're going to face somebody who's got 7 or 8 with the it's like with level hype 2 or 3, and then on top of that you don't have your reversals, you don't have the MP downs and things, and then you wonder why you're getting destroyed every single time.
Right. So it sounds like as we go into this that really the old way of playing Feud was, aside from getting your CSS, just have the better superstar and go in, dominate turn 1, 45 seconds, and you're out. Now, again, we got 10th place, so we were up there. We weren't the best, but we did okay, especially considering we had multiple people quit the game in that, and some of our top hitters. We still did really well. What I found is I was still usually able to hit my 10 to 12 minute mark. That's our goal for our faction, is a 10 to 12 minute matchup. I was usually able to hit it. However, like Slim, I ran into a couple instances where literally myself or my partner absolutely could not take a level 3 hype. I don't remember which characters it was, but it's, some of the newer, better, characters. And so once I got my 3 losses, because that's what it was 3 straight losses in, I tried to say, hey, okay, you take them. And they just were already telling me like, hey, I can't take them. So twice at least during the feud, we sat out the timer. And not since I was in the Black Pearl have I had that happen. So it was definitely a different experience for sure. Oh, thank you for dropping that in the comments, Slim. I appreciate that. Godflow, which welcome to the chat, Godflow, mentioned in here basically like you have to play half of the game before you queue. Like basically the setup is a big part of the game. You don't have to run small. You just need to run with a partner and have good team chemistry. So I've gone in historically just blind. Like whatever partner I get in the faction is whoever I get. I know Godflow, I know Merrick's, a few others kind of have set partners that they run with. And so like if you know that your partner has a level 3 that could take out their level 3s, there's a lot more communication on it just to say like, hey, you take that character or that line because I'm not going to be able to do that. But I did find that aside from when we were facing Woken, a lot of the characters that I faced were tier 1, tier 2 hype, and I had characters that could do that. So most of the feud, I would say, was just more strategy in my brain, but some of the feud was just abandon ship, and I've not had that for a long time. So, yeah. Thoughts, either of you?
I'll let Slim go first.
Okay, Slim, you're up.
I am really, really sorry. Can you repeat the question? Because there's a new game mode coming out, and I got all the way sidetracked reading. Um,
Thank you for
I
taking
apologize.
Rusty's spot of being the one who's absolutely distracted while I'm doing something. Love that. By the way, for those who are asking in the
There's
chat,
got to be one, right?
there's got to be one. For those asking in the chat, so Rusty is taking a pause from the game for just a little bit. Not necessarily due to hype, more due to his family schedules and things like that. So he'll hop back on whenever he can. But until then, it's kind of going to be a conglomerate here. We're going to do some things with. So, yeah, let's close out this conversation with hype and then, or hype feuding, and then I'll start a new video. We'll do a first reaction because I've known a mode was coming from my behind the scenes role. I haven't seen it or it's seen anything about it. So, the main things that we took away from this are you got to plan before you even go in. It's not as simple as just setting your favorite characters and just letting them go. You got to play defensively, which unfortunately, as somebody said in the chat, if you didn't play the game when the Ghostbusters were out, or like Johnny Knoxville, if you got lucky to get him or some of those, you might not have the MP down people, but you do have some because new Alistair Black at least is an MP down, I think, one or something like that. But either way, there are people you can use to survive. So you might need to bring out people like the old Honky Tonk Man that does less gym damage. You might need to bring out Ultimate Warrior for less silence, or the Multiply Gym down, or whoever. Literally, you need to look at each match and go in with the right trainer coaches for that person. And then if they're hype level 3, you gotta wish for a prayer basically, or have a good reversal. Like if you can get a reversal down to take their first turn and then turn around and get them, that's your best shot. Slim, final comments on this topic, and then we'll change videos and talk about the new mode.
Yeah, one more thing to add to the list of things to pay attention to is everybody, I'm sure, is having a similar experience to me, and that is the RNG is giving me hype points for cards that I never would have previously.
Right.
I know there's a ton of people out in the community who probably have like a hype level 3 Acro Oscar, off the top of my head, or a hype level 3 Powerhouse China, um, or you know the substandard card in yesteryear's meta. But if you have them hype level 3 or 4, they now instantly have advantage over hype level ones, twos, and zeros, where you could do some pretty significant damage with a card that didn't do a lot of significant damage in the past. Dig into those cards. If you have somebody that you can bring up to hype level 3 that you never would have used before, figure it out. Use them because you are going to get the first turn advantage there. And if you can figure out how to use them, maybe you can angle for a first turn knockout, or even a way to disable your opponent who have a
Yep.
card that you never would have used before that now you can use, and can use effectively. So just because you got 100 hype frags for, who do I have for it? Corporate Kane, I think. Now it's time for me to start looking at Corporate Kane for the next
Wow.
feud coming up, and figure out, hey, is there anything here that's usable? Can I create a move flow that works?
Yep.
Just so I have a hype level 3 character that I can bring into battle with me. Um, at least, at the very least, catch a couple W's for me, or make it so that I'm not at a complete disadvantage.
Yep. Yep. Chic, final thoughts.
Uh, Pretty much just reiterating what Slim said. It's just you have to be able to adapt with the new meta, whether people like it or they don't. This is the way that the game is going to be going forward until the new meta comes out. Um, and as you stated, please go into the Discord. You have a feedback thread. Give constructive, feedback, good or bad, about what you didn't like, and hopefully they'll do something with it. Now, whether something happens or doesn't, I can't promise that, because I don't work for Scopely, I don't code the game,
Right.
so, uh, but, I mean, like, just venting it on a Twitch stream isn't going to do anything. Getting in front of the people who can make a difference is where it needs to go.
Correct.
And then just, like I said, just don't go in doing the exact same thing that you've been doing the last 2, 3 years of Feud, and then wondering why it doesn't work, and then getting frustrated. Because trust me, the stuff that I did, 8 years ago at this point, isn't the same way that I play the game today. Isn't the same way I played the game a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Right.
So, just, give it time, play with it, and, yeah, it's just, like, if it's not working, figure out what will. It's like, and if you are, like, for example, if you're, getting hit with a bunch of people who have multiply gems, get somebody who reverses multiply gems. And
Tiffany.
just you may not be as fast as you were before, but mix in the defensive with the offensive, and sure, maybe it'll take you 2 turns or three where it used to only take you one, but anyone is still beatable. uh you know Trust me, from Ed to Lee to even Godflow and Two Bob and all of them, I've beaten everybody in this game at some point in time. So it's like, it's not impossible. It's just,
Right.
requires just that little, that extra 30 seconds of what'll work here.
Right. Agreed. And I think to kind of close this out for my final thoughts is Zorro, our friend Sir Zorro, has said for years every character in the game can be great if you know how to use them. I've struggled because that's not my brain process, but it does maybe require a little bit more like checking out some of the creator videos on, oh yeah, I wouldn't have used, Ludwig Kaiser, although I know he's got the drip build, but I wouldn't have used him normally. But now Flex has a video that shows you can hit 150 million pretty easy with him. There's a lot of new plates, there's a lot of moments, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of reasons to go back to characters that maybe you dismissed before, but now you're like, oh, I hate to take my whatever Titan Frankie plate or my green Piper plate off of this person, but this person's level 3 hype, and if I put that on them, they'll win. You might have to make some strategic sacrifices like that. And I think to a point that can be really fun. If you're just always using the same characters over and over again and just clicking two buttons and winning, I think that gets boring. I think losing in feuds where you have to, completely exit out of the mode, that's not the direction either. But some sweet spot in between where it takes a little bit more than it used to on your brain to go, oh, if I do this and this and this, then when you win, you feel that euphoric hit again versus going, of course I won. Of course I won. Of course, like that's the way it was for a little while. But it does often take some rare things to do that, and so it's really going to be roster dependent. And I think I hope that your main takeaway from this is, as Sheik has said, as Slim has said, and as I'm saying, go on the official forum, which is now primarily a Discord server. There's over like 7,000 of you on that Discord server. Leave constructive criticism. And just because I haven't said it I don't do the WCW videos anymore since there aren't blogs, but constructive criticism looks like this. Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't like. Here's what I would change to make what I didn't like something I liked. That format will win every single time for you, because I promise you Scopely does listen, but they don't listen when all it is all caps, everything sucks, I hate everything. Like, not saying that's you, but if it is you, just use that little format. Here's what I liked. Here's what I didn't like. Here's what I would change. And I promise you they listen. They've made big changes in the game before. And it seems like this is a moment where maybe our feedback needs to be heard so that we can make some big changes happen again. So that's what I've got. Sheik and Slim, tell them how they can find you and follow you, because you out there need to be following Iron Sheik. Wait, no, other way. That way. Iron Sheik and Slim Numbers. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, as always, on all the socials, on the YouTubes, the Twitch, everything, you can find me at Iron Sheik 84 for more WWE Champions action.
Slim, where can we find you?
Just search for Slim Numbers, all one word, on either YouTube or Discord. You'll find me. Or not Discord. What's that other thing? Twitch. Yeah, that one.
Twitch. And we're at Champions Chat Podcast on Twitch and on YouTube. Thank you for following. It really means a lot when you like and subscribe to the videos for all of us, because that's what YouTube cares about. Even if we aren't personally moved by it, it really helps our channels. So please do that. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next one, friends. Bye.